Imagine you get a call in the morning about your 30-year cousin that passed away, leaving behind 2 children. This is something that happened to me a couple years ago. My aunt had to step up to the plate. All this is caused because of drug addiction. She overdosed. Today we're going to talk about how drug addiction is actually a disease in itself. According to the National Center of Addiction and Substance Abuse, addiction distributes regions of the brain that are responsible for reward, motivation, learning, judgment, and memory. Your brain gives so many chemicals in your head that kind of reward yourself for doing good things, for consequences, or motivates you to do things. Drugs and additives gives you this extra chemical that you think is a good thing when really it's not. And it's different in all types of people, so it's not something that you can say he has or she has because you never know. According to the National Center of Addiction and Substance Abuse, in most cases the feeling of pleasure is caused by the release of chemicals in the brain. Most addictive substances cause the brain to release high levels of the same chemicals that are associated with pleasure and reward. Over time, it kills brain cells, I'm sure as you once heard. The old saying is marijuana kills brain cells. Well, in essence, it does, but it's not the brain cells it's killing. It's overproducing massive chemicals in the head that's kind of making you want more and more of it, which then you really just don't know where you're at one way or another. A lot of people kind of go off basic knowledge when they look at someone and say, oh, they're addicted. They're not addicted because they can't be addicted. That's not the case. Hereditary plays a role in that because hereditary, if your family does it, it comes down the line. Your first time can get you hooked on that, and that's what causes it to be a disease because it's not something that you really helped. Yes, it was your choice, but no, it wasn't something that you wanted to do in essence because it's been from generation to generation. And also, just by looking at someone, you can't tell if they're going to be addicted or not. You can't just wake up the next day and say, you know what, I'm going to be addicted to pills. It just doesn't happen that way. One person might wake up and say they're going to do it, but then get sick. But another person, the first time they do it, they're just going to addicted on it and keep going and keep going. According to the Recovery Village, drugs, physical change the brain and create a compulsive drive to continue using while it inhibits normal decision-making abilities. I can talk about this person from my family. A lot of my family does drugs and are addicted really bad. They use those poor choices, which affects them in a lifetime. My little sister, she's currently in jail because she chose to do drugs, steal, and she's leaving a little boy behind for someone else to take care of. We go back, see her once in a while, but if she wasn't addicted to these drugs and making poor choices that she did, then she wouldn't be in the situation that she's in today. And then someone's surroundings can also play a role in that. Say growing up, your family didn't do drugs, but all your friends did. That's another important factor that contributes into whether you're going to be an addict or not. Because you might do it because you think it's cool, or you might do it just because you tried this a couple of times and you just can't get off of it. According to Addiction Campus, if you're genetically exposed to the disease, scientists say your brain chemistry will change once introduced. So like I explained a while ago, first-time user, if they're coming down the family, is something that's going to keep going through them. It's a hard cycle to break. And if you continue nagging them and nagging them and nagging them to get help, it's only going to make the problem worse because to them, they have no consequences. So to them, they don't care what they do. They're just going to keep going more and more and more because what do they have to lose? According to the Addiction Campus, in order for someone to want to change, there must be consequences. Consequences are what motivate change. There's also some signs to look for an addiction. Of course, everyone knows the typical track marks, the way you look at someone, that type of thing. There's also if they go by, want to be by themselves alone all the time. They want to be around people. They always have drugs, but yet you don't know where they're getting the money from. Now we're going to talk about the visual aid. As you can tell, it's a family with photo, it's ripped apart. Because that's what essentially it does to families. Drug addiction just not only affects you, but it affects your family. Because they have to be there to support you through this. And so, as you're being more addicted into the disease and not getting help for yourself, you keep pushing it off and pushing it off. You're slowly ripping your family apart because they don't really understand where you're coming from, understand why you're doing it, because they think that they're there for you and they don't truly understand. So that's why it's important that you look at it as a disease and look at it as this. It's not something that can be cured overnight. Another thing to look for is if they spend more time recovering and then using drugs. So if they're using more drugs and they're recovering and you never see them, that's another big sign that you can look for. to make sure that there's something that you can do to help them and get them in the right direction, not just letting them kind of stand off to the side. Again, drug addiction is a disease. It isn't always a choice. It may be at first, but it develops into something more. Brain changes from the chemicals in your head. It's not something that's just made up. It actually rewards them for doing it. It's just something that's a chemical balance. It's something that we're still trying to figure out today. Also, notice the signs of addiction so you can kind of get them in the right direction and kind of get them to where they need to be in life. I urge you to get educated about addiction and understand how it's a disease before you look at someone else and judge them and kind of judge them and put a label on them per se. Get to know them, get to know what they're going through, and you can maybe understand their life a little better.